Listen carefully. Power does not announce itself. Strength does not explain itself. And dominance never begs to be understood. The loud seek attention. The quiet collect leverage. Every reaction you suppress becomes control. Every word you withhold becomes positioning. Every moment of restraint compounds into authority. This audiobook will teach you how silence becomes strategy, how restraint becomes leverage, and how the most dangerous people in any room are the ones who do not rush to be seen, heard, or validated.
Stop. Right there. Stop explaining yourself. This is where power begins, and this is where most people give it away. You explain because you want to be understood. You explain because you want agreement. You explain because you want approval. But here is the truth. Over-explaining is not clarity. Over-explaining is insecurity. Explanation is a tax paid by those seeking approval. That's the key. Look at your own behavior. When someone questions you, you rush to justify. When someone doubts you, you rush to defend. When someone misunderstands you, you rush to clarify every detail. You have a choice. You can either stand on your decision, or you can beg people to feel comfortable with it. Powerful people do not explain themselves into respect. They move, they act, they let outcomes do the talking. You don't need their permission. Think about the leaders you respect most: CEOs, commanders, elite performers. They don't explain the entire roadmap. They state direction. We're doing this. This is the priority. This is the standard. Then they move on. Why? Because they understand something most people never learn. Results defend decisions better than words ever could. You can argue for 10 minutes and still be doubted, or you can execute once and remove all doubt. You have a choice. Every time you feel the urge to explain, pause. Ask yourself one question. Am I explaining to inform or to be accepted? If the answer is acceptance, stop talking. You don't need their permission. Let's make this practical. Next time someone challenges your choice, do not rush. Slow down, breathe. Respond with fewer words than expected. Not defensive, not aggressive. Neutral, grounded. I've decided. This is what I'm doing. I'll take responsibility. Then silence. That silence will feel uncomfortable. Good. That discomfort is the old habit dying. Explanation is a tax paid by those seeking approval. Say it again. Explanation is a tax paid by those seeking approval. When you explain too much, you signal doubt in your own authority. You tell the room, "I'm not sure this stands on its own," and the room responds accordingly. Here's the pattern. The less confident someone is, the longer they talk. The more secure someone is, the shorter their sentences become. It's not about being rude, it's not about being cold, it's about discipline. It's not about clarity, it's about certainty. That's the key. Look at high-level decision-makers, CEOs, commanders, elite performers. They don't explain the entire roadmap, they state direction. We're doing this. This is the priority. This is the standard. Then they move on. Why? Because they understand something most people never learn. Results defend decisions better than words ever could. You can argue for 10 minutes and still be doubted, or you can execute once and remove all doubt. You have a choice. Every time you feel the urge to explain, pause. Ask yourself one question. Am I explaining to inform or to be accepted? If the answer is acceptance, stop talking. You don't need their permission. Let's make this practical. Next time someone challenges your choice, do not rush. Slow down, breathe. Respond with fewer words than expected. Not defensive, not aggressive. Neutral, grounded. I've decided. This is what I'm doing. I'll take responsibility. Then silence. That silence will feel uncomfortable. Good. That discomfort is the old habit dying. Explanation is a tax paid by those seeking approval. Say it again. Explanation is a tax paid by those seeking approval. Here's another truth. People who demand explanations often don't want understanding. They want control. They ask why not to learn, but to negotiate your resolve. The more you explain, the more room you give them to push back. They latch on to details. They debate your reasoning. They chip away at your confidence. You don't need their permission. Strong people set boundaries with brevity. And understand this. You are not obligated to explain your vision to people who aren't committed to the work. You are not obligated to justify your boundaries to people who benefit from you having none. You are not obligated to explain your growth to people comfortable with your past. That's the key. There's a difference between clarity and overexposure. Clarity is intentional. Overexposure is emotional. Clarity says what matters. Overexposure says everything else. Most people talk themselves out of authority. They give context, they add disclaimers, they soften their position. Why? Fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being disliked. Fear of being judged. You have a choice. You can manage perceptions or you can manage outcomes. Power chooses outcomes. Remember this. You don't need everyone to understand you. You need to understand yourself. Once you are clear internally, your words naturally shorten. And something shifts when you stop explaining. People listen more carefully. They lean in. They sense certainty. Silence creates gravity. That's the key. Now, let's address the objection. But what if they misunderstand me? Let them. Misunderstanding is not fatal. Weak positioning is. You state, you act, you let time and results correct the narrative. Explanation is a tax paid by those seeking approval. Say it again. Explanation is a tax paid by those seeking approval. There's a reason this chapter comes first, because until you stop explaining yourself, you will never fully control your presence. Every unnecessary word leaks power. Every extra sentence invites interference. Silence protects momentum. And understand this clearly. This is not about arrogance. This is about self-trust. It's not about being loud. It's about being grounded. It's not about proving. It's about deciding. That's the key. So here is your discipline for this chapter. For the next 7 days, notice when you explain unnecessarily. Catch yourself mid-sentence. Stop early. Replace explanation with action. Replace justification with consistency. Replace words with follow-through. You don't need their permission. Because once you stop explaining, something powerful happens. Your actions begin to speak. Your presence begins to command. Your silence begins to work for you. And this is how restraint turns into leverage. You mastered the discipline of not explaining yourself. Now, let's move deeper into the weapon most people misunderstand.
Silence is misunderstood. And because it's misunderstood, it's underused. Most people think silence means hesitation. They think it means fear. They think it means you have nothing to say. That belief is why they stay exposed. Here is the truth. Silence is not weakness. Silence is positioning. The quiet are not behind. They are above. That's the key. When you speak less, something powerful happens. Others speak more. They explain, they justify, they reveal priorities, insecurities, motives. And you observe. Silence creates asymmetry. You gain information without giving any away. You learn the room without changing your stance. You collect leverage while others spend it. You have a choice. You can fill silence to ease discomfort, or you can let silence work for you. Most people can't stand quiet. It makes them nervous. It exposes uncertainty. So they talk and talk and talk. That's when they lose position. The quiet are not behind. They are above. Think about negotiations. The person who speaks first after an offer usually loses ground. Why? Because silence applies pressure. Pressure reveals cracks. The other side starts to justify their number. They add concessions. They negotiate against themselves. And all you did was stay quiet. That's the key. Silence is not passive. It is active restraint. It's not about being mute. It's about timing. It's not about fear. It's about discipline. It's not about avoiding conflict. It's about controlling it. You don't need their permission. Look at meetings. The loudest voice often has the least control. They rush to contribute. They interrupt. They overstate. But watch the person who speaks last. They listen. They track patterns. They understand dynamics. When they finally speak, the room shifts. Why? Because silence built authority before words ever arrived. The quiet are not behind. They are above. Here's where people get it wrong. They think silence means you're losing. They think if you don't respond immediately, you're being dominated. That belief is emotional, not strategic. You have a choice. You can react, or you can position. Reaction puts you on their timeline. Positioning puts them on yours. That's the key. In conflict, silence is even more powerful. When someone provokes you, they want movement. They want reaction. They want emotional engagement. If you react, you give them control. If you pause, you take it back. Silence forces them to sit with their own energy, their own words, their own tension. And most people can't handle that. They escalate. They reveal insecurity. They expose intent. You don't need their permission. Silence doesn't mean you accept disrespect. It means you don't reward it with attention. There's a difference. Silence is not surrender. It's restraint. And restraint creates leverage. The quiet are not behind. They are above. Now let's get specific. Here is how you use silence deliberately. First, delay your response. Not forever, just long enough to break expectation. When someone asks a question, pause, breathe, look at them, then respond. That pause signals thought, not fear. It signals control. Second, reduce filler. No unnecessary words, no emotional padding. Say what matters, stop. That's the key. Third, let others finish, even when they're wrong. Interrupting feels powerful, but listening builds dominance. Because when they finish, you respond from a higher vantage point. The quiet are not behind. They are above. Here's another hard truth. People who talk constantly feel invisible. People who are silent feel scarce. Scarcity creates value. Silence increases perceived importance. You don't need their permission. Now, let's address the fear. But what if they think I'm weak? Let them. Strength is not proven through volume. It's proven through composure. Weak people need to be heard immediately. Strong people are comfortable waiting. That's the key. Silence also protects you from mistakes. Most verbal errors come from speed, not intention. You say things you don't mean. You reveal things you shouldn't. You commit too early. Silence buys you clarity. It keeps options open. It keeps leverage intact. The quiet are not behind. They are above. Understand this clearly. Every conversation has a power dynamic, and the one who controls pace usually controls outcome. Silence slows the game. Silence forces recalibration.
Silence changes the frame. You have a choice. You can rush to fill space, or you can let space bend around you. That's the key. Now, here's your discipline. For the next week, practice strategic silence. In conversations, speak 20% less than usual. In meetings, wait until others finish before contributing. In conflict, pause before responding. Notice what happens. People reveal more. Tension shifts. Your presence grows heavier. You don't need their permission. Silence will feel uncomfortable at first. That's good. That discomfort means you're breaking an old habit. And as you master silence, you begin to see clearly. You notice patterns. You read intention. You stop being manipulated by urgency. The quiet are not behind. They are above. This is how restraint turns into leverage. This is how presence turns into authority. You stopped explaining yourself. Now you've learned how to position yourself without saying a word. And next, we address the behavior that destroys everything silence builds. You learned how to hold your tongue. Now you must learn how to hold your emotions.
Reactivity feels natural. That's why it's dangerous. Someone provokes you. Someone criticizes you. Someone disrespects you. Your body tightens. Your mind speeds up. Your emotions rise. And in that moment, most people lose authority. Because here is the truth. Reactivity hands control to whatever triggered you. If they can move your emotions, they can move your decisions. That's the key. Authority is not about dominance. It's about self-command. The person who controls themselves controls the room. The moment you react emotionally, you signal vulnerability. Not weakness of strength, weakness of control. You don't need their permission. Think about it. Why do insults work? Why does disrespect sting? Because it pulls you out of your center. It makes you respond instead of choose. You have a choice. You can react or you can respond. Reaction is automatic. Response is disciplined. It's not about suppressing emotion, it's about mastering it. That's the key. Look at high-pressure environments, courtrooms, boardrooms, crisis situations. Who commands attention? Not the loudest, not the angriest, the calmest. Calm under pressure builds unspoken dominance. People trust the person who doesn't shake. If they can move your emotions, they can move your decisions. Say it again. If they can move your emotions, they can move your decisions. Reactivity also makes you predictable, and predictability is easy to manipulate. If someone knows which buttons to press, they own you. They provoke, you respond. They repeat. You don't need their permission. Strong people remove themselves from emotional hooks. They don't bite, they don't chase, they don't flinch. That restraint confuses the reactive, and confusion shifts power. That's the key. Let's be clear, this is not about being passive. This is not about letting people walk over you. It's about choosing the moment of action. You don't react when they want you to. You act when it benefits you. Authority is timing. Think of every emotional outburst as a leak. Energy leaks, focus leaks, credibility leaks. Reactivity is expensive. Calm is economical. You have a choice. You can spend energy on emotional expression or invest it in strategic action. That's the key. Now let's make this practical. First discipline, slow the body. Emotions begin in physiology, fast breathing, tense muscles, elevated voice. Interrupt that. Breathe slower than the situation demands. Lower your shoulders, relax your jaw. The body leads the mind. If they can move your emotions, they can move your decisions. Second discipline, delay your words. You don't need to answer immediately. Silence is not defeat, it's recalibration. Pause, think, then choose. You don't need their permission. Third discipline, name the trigger internally. Say to yourself, this is a trigger. This is pressure. This is not an emergency. Labeling creates distance.
Distance restores control. That's the key. Now let's talk about conflict. In conflict, reactive people escalate. They raise voices, they sharpen language, they go personal. Calm people de-escalate without surrender. They stay neutral, they stay factual, they stay centered. That composure unsettles aggressors, because aggression feeds on reaction. No reaction, no fuel. If they can move your emotions, they can move your decisions. Here's another truth. Most people regret what they say in reaction. Almost no one regrets staying calm. Words spoken in emotion are permanent. Regret is optional. You have a choice. You can protect your authority or sacrifice it for momentary relief. That's the key. Let's address the fear. But if I don't react, they'll think I'm weak. Wrong. They'll think you're controlled. And controlled people are dangerous because they don't act impulsively, they act intentionally. You don't need their permission. Calm creates space. Space creates options. Options create leverage. That's the chain. Reactivity collapses all three. Remember this. Authority is felt before it is seen. People sense emotional stability immediately. They test it, they probe it, they push. And when you don't break, they adjust. The calm become the reference point. If they can move your emotions, they can move your decisions. Say it again. If they can move your emotions, they can move your decisions. Now here's your practice. For the next 7 days, treat every trigger as training. When something annoys you, don't react. Pause for 3 breaths. Respond slower than feels comfortable. When someone tries to rush you emotionally, slow down further. That's the key. Notice how often people attempt to control through urgency, through tone, through pressure. Once you see it, you stop falling for it. You don't need their permission. And something shifts. Your presence stabilizes, your decisions sharpen, your authority grows without announcement. This is how inner control becomes outer power. You've learned to stop explaining. You've learned to use silence as positioning. Now you've learned to master your reactions. And once reactions are gone, something else becomes visible. The difference between noise and value. You mastered emotional restraint. Now let's talk about the behavior that keeps most people stuck.
Competition is noisy. Power is quiet. That difference explains almost everything. Loud people fight for attention. Quiet people build assets. Noise spends. Silence compounds. That's the key. Look around. Most people are performing, posting, explaining, arguing. They are busy being seen. And while they are busy proving, they are not building. Energy spent proving is energy stolen from building. You have a choice. You can compete for attention, or you can collect leverage. The loud compete, the quiet collect. That's how the game is played at the top. Think about it clearly. Attention feels productive. It feels like movement. It feels like progress. But attention without assets is fragile. The moment the noise stops, so does the relevance. Silence, on the other hand, builds in the background. Quiet effort accumulates. Quiet skill sharpens. Quiet systems grow. Noise spends. Silence compounds. That's the key. Loud people announce goals. Quiet people execute. Loud people chase recognition. Quiet people build capability. Loud people argue about ideas. Quiet people turn ideas into results. You don't need their permission. Here's the trap. Social pressure rewards noise. Validation is loud. Applause is immediate. Building is lonely, unseen, delayed. So most people choose noise, not because it works, but because it feels good now. You have a choice. Short-term validation or long-term leverage. That's the key. Let's talk about assets. Assets are anything that grows without constant explanation. Skills, reputation, systems,
relationships, capital, competence. Assets don't need defending, they produce. Loud people defend opinions, quiet people own outcomes. Noise spends, silence compounds. Say it again. Noise spends, silence compounds. When you spend energy competing for attention, you borrow from the future. When you invest energy into building, the future pays you back. That's not philosophy, that's economics. Look at people who win long-term. They disappear for periods. They work quietly. They resurface stronger. While others were busy comparing, they were compounding. You don't need their permission. Now, look at your own habits. How much time do you spend explaining what you're going to do? How much time do you spend reacting to others? How much time do you spend proving you're right? That energy could have been building something real. You have a choice. Prove or produce. That's the key. The loud compete horizontally. They compare themselves to everyone around them. The quiet collect vertically. They build depth. Depth beats width every time. Anyone can shout. Few can endure. It's not about being seen. It's about being solid. It's not about applause. It's about accumulation. That's the discipline. Noise spends. Silence compounds. Here's another truth. Competition is exhausting. Collection is sustainable. When you compete, you are constantly reacting to others' moves. When you collect, you are responding to your own standards. One drains you, the other strengthens you. You don't need their permission. Let's talk about proving. Proving is a trap. You try to show you're smart. You try to show you're capable. You try to show you belong. But proof is temporary. Assets are permanent. It's not about proving worth. It's about building value. That's the key. High-level players don't argue for relevance. They create scarcity. Their absence is felt. Their presence matters. Why? Because they spent years collecting instead of competing. Noise spends. Silence compounds. Now let's make this practical. First discipline. Reduce public output. Increase private input. Less posting, more practice. Less talking, more building. Second discipline. Measure progress internally. Stop tracking likes, opinions, reactions. Track skill, output, consistency. That's the key. Third discipline. Build something that works without you. Systems, processes, skills that perform even when you're quiet. That's real leverage. You have a choice. Chase attention or create value. Attention fades, value remains. You don't need their permission. Here's the uncomfortable part. When you stop competing, people may forget you temporarily. Good. That silence is space. Space to build, space to sharpen, space to grow without interference. When you return, you won't need to announce it. Results announce themselves. Noise spends, silence compounds. Say it again. Noise spends, silence compounds. Understand this. The quiet don't rush, they accumulate. They don't need to win every moment. They win the long game. And the long game always belongs to those who build. You've stopped explaining. You've learned silence as positioning. You've mastered emotional control. Now you understand where to place your energy. You no longer waste it on noise. You invest it into assets. And once you start collecting instead of competing, something else becomes clear. The fastest way to end arguments forever. You stopped competing for attention. Now let's talk about the ultimate end of noise.
Arguments are loud. Results are final. That's the difference. Most people argue because they don't have proof yet. They debate, they explain, they defend. High performers don't do that. They deliver. Proof ends conversations. That's the key. Look at how most people handle criticism. They rush to respond. They justify their choices. They try to win the moment.
And in doing so, they lose the long game. Because every argument keeps the conversation alive. Every explanation invites another opinion. Every defense signals doubt. You have a choice. You can argue with words, or you can end the discussion with results. High performers choose results. You don't need their permission. Here is the truth no one wants to hear. If you are constantly explaining yourself, it's because your outcomes are not strong enough yet. That's not an insult, it's a diagnosis, and diagnosis leads to correction. It's not about convincing, it's about producing. That's the discipline. Proof ends conversations. Say it again. Proof ends conversations. When results show up, opinions go quiet. When outcomes are undeniable, criticism evaporates. Nobody argues with a scoreboard. Nobody debates a finished product. Nobody questions consistency over time. Results speak brutally because they don't negotiate. That's the key. Think about the people you respect most. Do you care what they say about themselves? No. You care what they've built, what they've done, what they consistently deliver. They don't tell you they're disciplined, they show you. They don't tell you they're focused, they produce. They don't defend their reputation, their track record does it for them. You have a choice. Talk about potential or demonstrate execution. That's the key. Now let's talk about defending. Defending feels necessary when you're emotionally attached to perception. You want to be seen correctly. You want to be understood. You want to protect your image. But image is fragile. Results are solid. It's not about protecting how you look. It's about strengthening what you do. You don't need their permission. Every time you defend yourself, ask this question. Would a result make this argument irrelevant? If the answer is yes, stop talking and start building. Proof ends conversations. Here's the pattern. Low performers explain plans. High performers explain progress. Elite performers explain nothing and let outcomes speak. That's the hierarchy. Most people live at the bottom because talking is easier than doing. You have a choice. Comfortable explanation or uncomfortable execution. That's the key. Now let's address the impatience. But results take time. Yes, and arguments waste that time. Every hour spent debating is an hour not invested in improvement. Silence while you work feels slow, but it's fast in the only way that matters, because compounding doesn't announce itself. You don't need their permission. Here's another hard truth. People who criticize you early will often disappear when you succeed, not because they changed their mind, but because they lost relevance. Results shift power dynamics. Proof ends conversations. Say it again. Proof ends conversations. This is why high performers don't chase closure through arguments. They delay gratification. They let time do the work. Time plus consistency equals authority. That's the key. Now let's get practical. Here's how you apply this chapter. First discipline, redirect energy. When criticized, do not respond immediately. Write down what needs to improve, then work on that. Turn feedback into fuel, not debate. Second discipline, set measurable outcomes. Clear targets, clear timelines, clear standards. Results must be visible, not vague. That's the key. Third discipline, track consistency, not moments. Anyone can perform once. Authority is built through repetition. Daily output beats occasional intensity. You don't need their permission. Now let's talk about ego. Ego wants to win arguments. Discipline wants to win outcomes. Ego wants to be right now. Discipline wants to be undeniable later. It's not about being right, it's about being effective. That's the discipline. Proof ends conversations. When you stop defending, something shifts internally. You become less emotional, less reactive, more focused, because your identity moves from how I'm perceived to what I produce. That shift is everything. You have a choice. Be known for talking or be known for results. That's the key. Now here's the uncomfortable reality. Some people will never acknowledge your results. Let them. Results are not for validation, they are for leverage. You don't need applause to benefit from progress. You don't need their permission.
When results show up, doors open quietly. Opportunities appear without argument. Respect adjusts itself. No announcement needed. Proof ends conversations. Say it one last time. Proof ends conversations. This is how the quiet win. They don't explain the process. They don't justify the struggle. They don't narrate the climb. They arrive, and arrival ends debate. You've learned to stop explaining. You've learned silence as positioning. You've mastered emotional control. You've stopped competing for attention. Now you understand the final weapon in this sequence: relentless execution. You let results speak brutally, and when results speak, noise dies. But there's something even more valuable than results, something that determines how often you can produce them. You learn to end conversations. Now let's talk about what truly fuels long-term power.
Attention is not neutral. Attention is power. Where attention goes, power flows. That's the key. Most people think money is the main currency of life. It's not. Attention comes first. Money follows attention. Influence follows attention. Control follows attention. And most people waste it. They give attention to noise, to drama, to opinions, to people who haven't earned it. You have a choice. You can spend your attention everywhere, or you can invest it deliberately. One makes you weak, the other makes you valuable. Scarcity creates gravity. That's the key. Look at how attention is treated today. Notifications, arguments, endless updates, endless reactions. Everyone wants your focus. Few deserve it. And every time you give attention away carelessly, you lose leverage. You don't need their permission. Here's the truth. People who are always available are rarely respected. People who are selectively present are noticed. Why? Because scarcity creates gravity. When something is always there, it's taken for granted. When something is rare, it's valued. Attention works the same way. That's the key. Where attention goes, power flows. If you give your attention to disrespect, you empower it. If you give your attention to mediocrity, you normalize it. If you give your attention to distraction, you weaken yourself. It's not about being cold, it's about being disciplined. It's not about ignoring everything, it's about choosing deliberately. That's the discipline. Now let's talk about strategic withdrawal. Strategic withdrawal is not disappearance, it's selective absence. It's choosing when to engage and when not to. Most people engage by default. They respond immediately, they show up constantly, they explain endlessly, and they wonder why their presence carries no weight. You have a choice: immediate availability or controlled access. That's the key. High-value individuals are not hard to reach, they are selective to reach. They don't rush to every conversation, they don't respond to every comment, they don't attend every conflict. They protect their attention like capital, because it is. Scarcity creates gravity. Say it again. Scarcity creates gravity. Now, here's where people get confused. They think withdrawing attention is arrogance. It's not. It's self-respect. You don't need their permission. When you stop feeding everything with your attention, weak dynamics collapse. Drama dies when it's ignored. Manipulation fails when it's not rewarded. Disrespect fades when it's not engaged. Attention is fuel. Remove the fuel, the fire goes out. That's the key. Let's make this practical. First discipline, audit your attention. Ask yourself, what am I giving energy to every day? Who gets my focus? What thoughts dominate my mind? If it doesn't build you, question it. You have a choice. Second discipline, delay engagement. You do not have to respond immediately. Urgency is often a tactic. Pause, assess, then decide. Silence is often the strongest response. You don't need their permission. Third discipline, reduce visibility strategically. You don't need to comment on everything. You don't need to announce every move. You don't need to explain your absence. Let people feel the gap. Scarcity creates gravity.
Now, understand this deeply. Attention given freely is rarely respected. Attention given selectively is sought after. This applies everywhere: work, relationships, leadership. The person who can walk away calmly controls the frame. Where attention goes, power flows. If someone knows they can always pull you into reaction, they own you. If they know your attention is limited, they adjust. You don't need their permission. Here's another truth. Attention is also internal. What you focus on internally determines your emotional state. If your attention is scattered, your mind is weak. If your attention is disciplined, your mind is sharp. It's not about talent, it's about focus. That's the discipline. Now let's talk about value perception. People don't value what is constantly accessible. They value what requires intention. That's why silence increases weight. That's why distance increases respect. That's why selective engagement increases authority. Scarcity creates gravity. Say it again. Scarcity creates gravity. Now, here's your practice. For the next 7 days, reduce unnecessary engagement. Stop reacting to low-value noise. Stop explaining yourself to uncommitted people. Stop spending attention on things that don't move you forward. Replace it with focus. Focus on skill. Focus on output. Focus on building. You have a choice. Consume attention or compound it. That's the key. When you withdraw attention strategically, something interesting happens. People notice. Dynamics shift. Your presence gains weight. Not because you demanded respect, but because you stopped over-giving. You don't need their permission. Attention is currency. Spend it sparingly. And once you master attention, you unlock something even more powerful: the ability to see clearly before you act. You've learned to stop explaining. You've learned silence as positioning. You've mastered emotional control. You've stopped competing for attention. You've let results speak. Now you understand the value of focus. And next, we sharpen it further, because observation is where strategy begins. You protected your attention. Now let's talk about how to use it intelligently.
Speed feels powerful, but speed without understanding is weakness. Most people rush. They speak quickly. They decide quickly. They act quickly. And they expose themselves. Here's the truth. Most people reveal everything without being asked. Most people expose patterns through uncontrolled speech. That's the key. If you slow down, if you stay quiet, if you observe, the game changes. Because observation turns chaos into predictable behavior. Watch first, move last. Say it again. Watch first, move last. You have a choice. You can rush to act, or you can wait to understand. One creates motion, the other creates leverage, and leverage always wins. You don't need their permission. Now let's talk about conversations. Who gives away the most information? The one who talks the most. They tell you what they value, what they fear, what they want, what triggers them. Not because they're honest, but because they're undisciplined. Observation rewards patience. That's the key. Most people think power comes from doing. It doesn't. Power comes from knowing when to do, and you can't know when if you haven't watched long enough. Watch first, move last. Look at negotiations again. The impatient reveal position. The patient read position. The impatient justify. The patient listen. And the patient always ends up with better terms. Why? Because observation turns uncertainty into clarity. You don't need their permission. Now let's talk about chaos. Chaos is loud. Chaotic people rush. They overreact.
they contradict themselves. But chaos is not random. It has patterns. You just have to stop reacting long enough to see them. That's the discipline. It's not about speed. It's about timing. That's the key. Most people act to feel relief. They want the discomfort to stop. Observation delays relief, but multiplies effectiveness. You have a choice: relief now or control later. Watch first, move last. Let's make this practical. When you enter a room, don't speak immediately. Scan the energy. Notice who talks first, who interrupts, who seeks approval. These behaviors repeat. People are predictable when they are emotional. Observation turns people into open books. You don't need their permission. In conflict, this is even more important. Reactive people escalate. Observant people deconstruct. They listen to tone. They notice contradictions. They watch emotional spikes. And when they finally respond, they respond accurately. Accuracy beats intensity. That's the key. Now here's a hard truth. Most people mistake movement for progress. They act quickly and feel productive. But fast mistakes cost more than slow decisions. Observation protects you from unnecessary errors. Watch first, move last. Silence is not inactivity. It is information gathering. Every second you don't speak, you learn. And learning is compounding power. You don't need their permission. Now let's address ego. Ego hates waiting. Ego wants to be seen acting. But discipline waits. It's not about showing confidence. It's about building advantage. That's the discipline. Observation also exposes manipulation, urgency, pressure, emotional framing. When someone pushes you to act now, pause. Urgency is often a tactic. Watch how they behave when you don't move immediately. That reaction tells you everything. That's the key. People reveal true intentions when their script fails. Silence breaks scripts. Watch first, move last. Here's another truth. People who rush decisions are easy to control. People who wait are hard to move. Because waiting forces others to reveal more. And every reveal shifts leverage toward you. You don't need their permission. Now let's talk about internal observation. This isn't just about watching others. It's about watching yourself. Notice when you feel rushed. Notice when you feel triggered to act. Those are signals. Observation begins internally. If you can observe your own impulses without acting on them, you become dangerous. In the best way. That's the key. Now here's your discipline for this chapter. For the next 7 days, delay action. Not indefinitely. Deliberately. When a decision appears, pause. Gather information. Watch behavior. Then move. Speak 30% less than usual. Listen 50% more than usual. Watch patterns. You have a choice. Act fast and guess, or observe and decide. Watch first, move last, and notice what happens. People talk more. They reveal inconsistencies. They show priorities. What felt chaotic becomes obvious. And once patterns are clear, action becomes effortless. Because you're no longer reacting. You're executing. You don't need their permission. This is how strategists think. This is how leaders operate. This is how quiet power grows. You stopped explaining. You learned silence as positioning. You mastered emotional restraint. You stopped competing for attention. You let results speak. You protected your attention. Now you've learned to observe. And once you see clearly, something else becomes essential. Precision. Because when you finally speak, when you finally act, it must land. You watched long enough. Now let's sharpen your communication.
Most people talk too much. That's not confidence, that's leakage. They add words to feel safe. They add explanations to feel understood. They add volume to feel important. And every extra word weakens the message. Here's the truth. Precision beats volume every time. Fewer words, heavier impact. That's the key. When you speak less, people listen more. When you speak clearly, people remember. When you speak with restraint, your words land. Silence gives weight to language. Short statements carry power when silence surrounds them. You have a choice. You can flood the room with words, or you can drop sentences that land and echo. One is noise, the other is authority. You don't need their permission. Think about the people whose words matter. They don't ramble, they don't circle the point, they don't explain the explanation. They speak, they stop, and the room adjusts. Fewer words, heavier impact. That's the key. Volume is often used to hide uncertainty. Precision exposes certainty. When you know what you mean, you don't need many words. It's not about sounding smart, it's about being clear. It's not about saying more, it's about saying what matters. That's the discipline. Now look at conversations around you. Who dominates the space? Who fills silence? Who keeps talking even after the point is made? That person is trying to control perception, and control through volume never lasts. You have a choice. Control with noise or influence with clarity. That's the key. Precision also forces accountability. When you speak in short, clear statements, there's nowhere to hide, no ambiguity, no retreat. People respect that because clarity signals conviction. You don't need their permission. Now let's talk about impact. Impact is not created by intensity, it's created by contrast. Silence creates contrast. Few words create contrast. When everything is loud, nothing stands out. When everything is said, nothing is remembered. Fewer words, heavier impact. Say it again. Fewer words, heavier impact. This is why powerful communication feels calm. No rush, no filler, no emotional padding. Just signal, then stop. That pause afterward does half the work. That's the key. Let's make this practical. First discipline. Remove filler. Cut phrases like, I just think, maybe. What I'm trying to say is. Say the thing. Stop. Second discipline. Decide your point before you speak. Most people talk to discover their point. Strong people think first, then speak. Clarity precedes brevity. That's the key. Third discipline. End sentences early. Don't add a second explanation unless asked. Let silence test the strength of your words. If they stand, you're done. You don't need their permission. Here's another truth. People respect boundaries in language. When you don't over-explain, you don't over-give. When you don't over-talk, you don't overexpose. Precision protects position. It's not about being mysterious, it's about being intentional. That's the discipline. Now let's talk about leadership. Leaders give direction, not dissertations. Do this. By Friday. This is the standard. Clear, calm, finished. Long explanations invite debate. Short directives create movement. Fewer words, heavier impact. That's the key. And understand this. People fill silence with their own interpretation, and that interpretation often favors the speaker. When you talk less, others project authority onto you, not because you demanded it, but because silence signals confidence. You don't need their permission. Now address the fear. But what if they misunderstand me? If your words are clear, misunderstanding is not your responsibility. You can clarify once. You do not dilute repeatedly. It's not about pleasing, it's about precision. That's the key.
Precision also sharpens thinking. When you force yourself to say less, you think better. You separate signal from noise. You identify what truly matters. This discipline upgrades your mind, not just your speech. You have a choice. Speak to be liked or speak to be effective. Fewer words, heavier impact. Now here's your practice. For the next week, cut your words in half. In conversations, aim for one clean sentence instead of 3. In meetings, wait, then speak once. Online, post less, say more. Notice the reaction. People listen, they pause, they adjust. You don't need their permission. This is how quiet authority sounds. Calm, measured, final. You've learned to stop explaining. You've learned silence as positioning. You've mastered emotional control. You've stopped competing for attention. You've let results speak. You've protected your attention. You've learned to observe. Now your words are weapons, not noise. And once words are sharpened, something else becomes visible. Control of emotional climate. You learn to speak with precision. Now let's talk about what happens when the room looks to you for stability.
Calmness is invisible, but its effect is undeniable. The unshaken dictate the tempo. They set the standard. Most people confuse authority with volume. Loud voices are assumed to lead. Anger is mistaken for power. Urgency is confused with importance. And that's why most people fail to influence others. The truth is simpler. The calm person controls the emotional climate. Leaders regulate the room before they regulate outcomes. That's the key. You have a choice. You can let the chaos dictate your state, or you can become the unshaken center. One is reaction, the other is dominance. You don't need their permission. Look around. In meetings, debates, and conflicts, who commands attention without speaking first? The calm, the steady, the one whose eyes and postures say, "I am not moved." The unshaken become the standard. Say it again. The unshaken become the standard. Now here's a hard truth. People rarely notice what is loud. They follow what is stable. Why? Because humans crave equilibrium. When someone remains calm while everyone else flares, their stability becomes a reference point. That reference becomes authority. That authority becomes influence. You have a choice. Flare and compete, or anchor and dominate. That's the key. Let's talk about triggers. The untrained mind reacts to insults, pressure, and chaos. It mirrors emotion. It amplifies conflict. The disciplined mind observes, breathes, centers, responds. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about mastering it. You don't need their permission. When you control your emotional state, you control the options of everyone else. People adjust their behavior to your stability. They seek your signal. They measure their own actions against your calm. That's the key. Most people think social dominance is loud posturing. It's not. It's measured presence. It's emotional consistency. It's the subtle assertion that your state is independent of theirs. The unshaken become the standard. Let's make this practical. First discipline, anchor your body. Stand tall, breathe deliberately, slow your speech, control gestures. The body dictates emotion, control the body, and the mind follows. Second discipline, name your triggers internally. Identify what normally causes you to flare. Say to yourself, "This is noise. I will not react." Observation turns impulses into data. Data turns into control. Control turns into influence. You don't need their permission. Third discipline, control timing of response. When pressure rises, resist the urge to act immediately. Pause, analyze, respond, in alignment with your goals. Impulse creates chaos. Intentionality creates dominance. That's the key.
Now let's address the room. Leaders know that emotions are contagious. Fear spreads, frustration spreads, excitement spreads. The calm contain the spread. They moderate the emotional climate. Their presence sets the pace. Their energy becomes the anchor. The unshaken become the standard. And here's the leverage most people overlook. When you remain calm, you create contrast. The reactive become obvious. The unstable reveal patterns. You can anticipate moves before they happen. You have a choice: react with chaos or lead with calm. That's the key. Now let's talk about high-stakes situations. Negotiations, conflicts, leadership challenges. When the room heats up, what matters most? Not volume, not aggression, not who interrupts first. It's who does not break. Your calm becomes gravity. Your steadiness becomes the template. Your authority is felt, not announced. You don't need their permission. Here's another truth. People often underestimate the quiet. They test limits, provoke, and push. Those who are easily moved are exploited. Those who are steady become the reference point. The unshaken become the standard. Repeat it one last time. The unshaken become the standard. Now let's bring it home. Daily practice. Pause when provoked. Breathe when pressured. Anchor when chaos rises. Observe before you act. Speak with precision. You have already learned to stop explaining. You've mastered silence as positioning. You've learned to observe first. You've learned to speak less and mean more. Now you take control of the emotional space around you. Your presence shapes outcomes. Your calm dictates tempo. Your steadiness becomes authority. You don't need their permission. And here's the transition. Once you control your emotional climate, something remarkable happens. People start moving for you even when you are quiet. Opportunities align without force. Influence grows without effort. You have anchored yourself. Now it's time to extend that anchor outward.
Calmness is invisible, but its effect is undeniable. The unshaken dictate the tempo. They set the standard. Most people confuse authority with volume. Loud voices are assumed to lead. Anger is mistaken for power. Urgency is confused with importance. And that's why most people fail to influence others. The truth is simpler. The calm person controls the emotional climate. Leaders regulate the room before they regulate outcomes. That's the key. You have a choice. You can let the chaos dictate your state, or you can become the unshaken center. One is reaction, the other is dominance. You don't need their permission. Look around. In meetings, debates, and conflicts, who commands attention without speaking first? The calm, the steady, the one whose eyes and posture say, "I am not moved." The unshaken become the standard. Say it again. The unshaken become the standard. Now here's a hard truth. People rarely notice what is loud. They follow what is stable. Why? Because humans crave equilibrium. When someone remains calm while everyone else flares, their stability becomes a reference point. That reference becomes authority. That authority becomes influence. You have a choice. Flare and compete, or anchor and dominate. That's the key. Let's talk about triggers. The untrained mind reacts to insults, pressure, and chaos. It mirrors emotion. It amplifies conflict. The disciplined mind observes, breathes, centers, responds. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about mastering it. You don't need their permission. When you control your emotional state, you control the options of everyone else. People adjust their behavior to your stability. They seek your signal. They measure their own actions against your calm. That's the key.
Most people think social dominance is loud posturing. It's not. It's measured presence. It's emotional consistency. It's the subtle assertion that your state is independent of theirs. The unshaken become the standard. Let's make this practical. First discipline, anchor your body. Stand tall, breathe deliberately, slow your speech, control gestures. The body dictates emotion, control the body, and the mind follows. Second discipline, name your triggers internally. Identify what normally causes you to flare. Say to yourself, this is noise, I will not react. Observation turns impulses into data. Data turns into control. Control turns into influence. You don't need their permission. Third discipline, control timing of response. When pressure rises, resist the urge to act immediately. Pause, analyze, respond, in alignment with your goals. Impulse creates chaos. Intentionality creates dominance. That's the key. Now let's address the room. Leaders know that emotions are contagious. Fear spreads, frustration spreads, excitement spreads. The calm contain the spread. They moderate the emotional climate. Their presence sets the pace. Their energy becomes the anchor. The unshaken become the standard. And here's the leverage most people overlook. When you remain calm, you create contrast. The reactive become obvious. The unstable reveal patterns. You can anticipate moves before they happen. You have a choice. React with chaos or lead with calm. That's the key. Now let's talk about high-stakes situations. Negotiations, conflicts, leadership challenges. When the room heats up, what matters most? Not volume, not aggression, not who interrupts first. It's who does not break. Your calm becomes gravity. Your steadiness becomes the template. Your authority is felt, not announced. You don't need their permission. Here's another truth. People often underestimate the quiet. They test limits, provoke, and push. Those who are easily moved are exploited. Those who are steady become the reference point. The unshaken become the standard. Repeat it one last time. The unshaken become the standard. Now let's bring it home. Daily practice. Pause when provoked. Breathe when pressured. Anchor when chaos rises. Observe before you act. Speak with precision. You have already learned to stop explaining. You've mastered silence as positioning. You've learned to observe first. You've learned to speak less and mean more. Now you take control of the emotional space around you. Your presence shapes outcomes. Your calm dictates tempo. Your steadiness becomes authority. You don't need their permission. And here's the transition. Once you control your emotional climate, something remarkable happens. People start moving for you even when you are quiet. Opportunities align without force. Influence grows without effort. You have anchored yourself. Now it's time to extend that anchor outward.
Most people announce their intentions. They broadcast goals. They explain plans. They seek validation for every step. And most fail spectacularly. Here's the truth. Preparation thrives in privacy. When everyone knows your move before it happens, opposition forms, resistance grows, momentum slows. Surprise is leverage. That's the key. You have a choice. You can share every step, or you can act deliberately, quietly, and gain advantage. One invites interference. The other ensures impact. You don't need their permission. Look around. Every failed project, every missed opportunity, every undermined effort has a pattern: exposure before execution. The loud talkers reveal their strategy. The patient doers conceal it. And when they act, results speak louder than words ever could. Surprise is leverage. Say it again. Surprise is leverage. Now let's talk about precision. Moving in silence without direction is just hesitation. Striking without accuracy is just chaos. Discipline demands both quiet preparation and focused action. It's not about secrecy for fear, it's about strategic advantage. You have a choice. Scatter your energy or concentrate it. That's the key. Most people over-communicate intentions because they fear judgment. They overshare progress because they need applause. They explain because they crave approval. Stop. You don't need their permission. Instead, focus inward. Plan deliberately. Prepare meticulously. Then execute with timing that leaves no room for counterplay. Precision converts preparation into power. Timing converts preparation into dominance. Silence multiplies both. Surprise is leverage. Let's break this down practically. First discipline, conceal your timeline. Tell only those who must know. Keep the majority unaware. Allow the process to unfold without interference. Second discipline, protect your resources quietly. Energy, money, time, and attention are finite. Guard them fiercely. Invest them strategically. Do not announce every investment. Third discipline, strike with clarity and decisiveness. When the moment arrives, act. No hesitation, no second guessing, no explaining afterward. Your results communicate the narrative. Surprise is leverage. Now consider social dynamics. People oppose what they can predict. They resist what they anticipate. They adapt when they see the strategy coming. You neutralize this by moving silently, by acting without advance warning, by letting outcomes speak before explanations exist. You have a choice. Invite resistance or move quietly and overcome it. That's the key. This discipline applies everywhere. In business, launch without teasing. In negotiations, keep leverage until the last moment. In relationships, avoid over-explaining motives. In personal growth, achieve milestones without public declaration. The world only responds to results, not promises, not drafts, not announcements. Surprise is leverage. Here's a critical mindset shift. It's not about being secretive, it's about being effective. It's not about hiding effort, it's about amplifying results. It's not about fear of judgment, it's about fearlessness in execution. You don't need their permission. Another truth, moving silently protects energy. When goals are public, energy is drained by external pressures. Opinions, advice, criticism, and sabotage follow. Keep focus internal. Channel energy toward execution, not validation. Precision ensures your efforts hit their target. Silence ensures your efforts are unopposed until impact. Surprise is leverage. Now, a practical habit. For the next month, choose one goal or project. Plan it privately. Do not announce steps. Do not seek validation. Prepare fully. Then strike. Observe the difference in results. Notice the respect earned. Notice the opposition minimized. Notice the satisfaction of accomplishment without drama. You have a choice. Broadcast for attention or move quietly and dominate. That's the key. Finally, internalize this. Every step taken quietly compounds. Every strike executed precisely resonates. Every success achieved under the radar commands attention afterward naturally. The quiet always finish first. The prepared always dominate. The disciplined always gain leverage. Surprise is leverage. You've learned to stop explaining. You've learned silence as positioning. You've learned observation before action. You've learned precision in speech. You've learned to anchor the emotional climate. You've learned to manufacture respect. Now you learn to execute with stealth and accuracy. Move quietly, prepare relentlessly, strike decisively, and watch influence unfold. You don't need their permission.
Most people think being present constantly is a sign of strength. They attend every meeting, they answer every call, they appear at every opportunity, and they are exhausted, overextended, undervalued. Here's the truth. Absence reframes value. What is always available is taken for granted. What is scarce becomes desired. Presence is powerful when it is optional. That's the key. You have a choice. You can be everywhere, or you can be deliberately selective. One spreads influence thin, the other concentrates it. You don't need their permission. Think about it. People chase attention from those who are desperate for validation. They exhaust themselves trying to be liked. They overcommit to fill gaps. They dilute their power. But the disciplined create demand. They manage availability. They control the narrative of value. Presence is powerful when it is optional. Repeated. Presence is powerful when it is optional. Now, let's talk about scarcity. Humans value what they must wait for. They notice what they cannot always have. They respect those who are not constantly accessible. You have a choice. Flood attention or create anticipation. That's the key. Strategic absence is not avoidance. It is deliberate positioning. It is deciding where, when, and how your influence is felt. It's not about fear. It's about leverage. You don't need their permission. Let's apply this practically. First discipline. Audit your presence. Where are you constantly available? Where do people expect you to show up? Begin to reduce that exposure strategically. Second discipline. Value your time publicly and privately. Let commitments be selective. Decline without guilt. Invest energy where it multiplies. Third discipline. Create scarcity around visibility. Do not respond immediately to every request. Do not share every milestone. Do not over-explain your actions. Presence is powerful when it is optional. Now consider social dynamics. People chase what is scarce. They compete for attention when it is limited. They notice when someone steps back deliberately. Strategic absence creates demand. Say it again. Strategic absence creates demand. This principle applies everywhere. In business, don't overexpose your plans or availability. In relationships, value your own presence and create space for appreciation. In leadership, let the team feel your influence without constant interference. In personal growth, invest in high-leverage opportunities instead of filling every gap. The world rewards selective attention. It punishes constant overexposure. Here's another truth. Absence amplifies authority. When you step back, others step up. When you withdraw slightly, people take notice. When you allow space, your influence expands naturally. You have a choice. Be consumed by demand or create demand through absence. That's the key. Now, internal discipline. Resist the urge to respond immediately. Resist the compulsion to justify your withdrawal. Resist fear of missing out. Every time you resist, you reinforce your value. Presence is powerful when it is optional. Here's a hard lesson. If you are everywhere, you are nothing in particular. If you are scarce, you are exceptional. If you are optional, you are indispensable. You don't need their permission. Practical habit. For the next month, limit interactions deliberately. Decline low-value requests. Pause before responding. Create windows of absence. Observe reactions. Notice appreciation rise. Notice demand grow. Notice influence expand. Presence is powerful when it is optional. Now, connect this to the quiet advantage. You've stopped explaining. You've mastered silence as positioning. You've learned observation before action. You've spoken with precision. You've anchored emotional climate. You've manufactured respect. You've moved quietly with precision. Now you create demand. Through absence, through scarcity, through deliberate positioning. You have a choice.
Be always available or be selectively present and exponentially valuable. That's the key. Strategic absence is the final pillar of quiet power. When executed consistently, it transforms influence. It turns attention into leverage. It ensures your presence is felt even when you are gone. Presence is powerful when it is optional. This completes the journey. You now understand. Silence is power. Observation is control. Precision is influence. Emotional mastery is dominance. Respect is manufactured. Action is deliberate. Absence is leverage. Use these disciplines, live them daily, and the quiet advantage will become your life.
Most people confuse reaction with action. They rush, they snap, they flail emotionally. And in doing so, they give away control. They give away perception. They give away power. Here's the truth. Calm unsettles the reactive. Stillness under pressure destabilizes opposition. Your calm is their discomfort. That's the key. You have a choice. You can mirror chaos or you can embody composure. One invites conflict, the other commands the environment. You don't need their permission. Think about social dynamics. Humans respond to energy first, logic second. If someone panics, people panic. If someone rages, people react. If someone is steady, the room adjusts. Your calm is their discomfort. Say it again. Your calm is their discomfort. Now, here's the critical insight. Calm is contagious, but it also intimidates. Those who expect chaos are unsettled when it doesn't appear. Those who expect submission are challenged when stability rises. You have a choice. React or anchor the environment. That's the key. Most people think winning is about speaking first or louder. It's not. Winning is about setting the psychological tone. It's about creating a field where others act in your stead without knowing it. Your calm is their discomfort. Let's break down practical steps. First discipline, breathe deliberately. A controlled breath slows thought, slows muscle tension, slows the room. Second discipline, center your posture. Stand tall, feet planted, shoulders relaxed. Presence anchors calm. Third discipline, observe without immediate reaction. Pause, listen, notice triggers. React intentionally, not reflexively. Your calm is their discomfort. Here's the truth about confrontation. People often mistake aggression for confidence, noise for authority, volume for dominance. It's not. Calm under fire is authority. Measured stillness is dominance. Confidence is silent, not loud. You have a choice. Flare and fight, or stand unshaken and guide the outcome. That's the key. Now, consider leverage. Calmness forces projection. Others project uncertainty onto you if you waver. They project frustration onto you if you flinch. They project control onto you if you remain steady. Your calm is their discomfort. Let's apply this to real-world scenarios. In negotiations, people rush when you don't. They oversell. They reveal too much. You gain leverage simply by staying composed. In leadership, teams mirror your energy. Panic spreads when you panic. Stability spreads when you are anchored. In conflict, reactivity hands power to the instigator. Calm returns it to you. In social dynamics, the loudest often assume dominance. The calm reclaims it effortlessly. You don't need their permission. Here's a mindset shift. Calm is not passivity. It's strategy. It's intentional. It's action executed under control. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about directing it. It's not about avoidance. It's about leverage. It's not about being liked. It's about winning psychologically. Your calm is their discomfort. Practical habit. Next time tension rises, pause, breathe, center. Speak only after measuring impact. Watch reactions. Notice the shift in energy. Every micro moment of restraint compounds influence. Every steady response teaches the room who leads.
You have a choice. React emotionally or weaponize your calm. That's the key. Now, internalize this. Calm creates contrast. Contrast exposes weakness in others. Contrast amplifies your authority. Those who rush are visible. Those who panic are exploitable. Those who react emotionally are predictable. Those who remain calm are untouchable. Your calm is their discomfort. Combine this with previous disciplines. You speak with precision. You observe before acting. You manage attention. You move silently and strike with impact. You manufacture respect. You create scarcity strategically. Now you control the psychological field. Your calm is the lever. Your stillness is the signal. Your discipline is the weapon. You have a choice. Join the chaos or dominate it silently. That's the key. Remember, the world rewards composure. It follows confidence. It respects mastery. And calm is mastery's voice. Your calm is their discomfort. This is the quiet advantage in action. You've built it, chapter by chapter, skill by skill. Now wield it. Now lead with it. Now win with it.
Most people think winning means convincing others. They argue, they debate, they defend. And in doing so, they trap themselves. They fight on someone else's terms. They expend energy without leverage. Here's the truth. Arguments trap you at the same level. Debates rarely change minds. Resistance strengthens with pushback. Distance resolves what discussion never can. That's the key. You have a choice. You can argue endlessly, or you can outgrow the need to argue. One keeps you reactive. The other elevates you silently. You don't need their permission. Think about it. Most conflicts are cyclical. People repeat behaviors. Opinions remain fixed. Debates repeat endlessly, exhausting both sides. And the louder you try to persuade, the more entrenched they become. Distance resolves what discussion never can. Say it again. Distance resolves what discussion never can. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Arguing signals insecurity. It shows you are engaged at a level below your potential. It shows that you need external validation to feel right. It shows your energy can be manipulated. Outgrowing argument signals discipline. It signals self-mastery. It signals unshakable authority. You have a choice. Defend your ego or rise above it. That's the key. Now, let's talk about practical application. Discipline 1. Recognize triggers. Notice what prompts you to defend, explain, or persuade. Pause. Breathe. Decide whether engagement is worth energy or impact. Discipline 2. Withdraw strategically. Silence is not surrender. It is positioning. It signals control. It signals that you operate on your own terms. Discipline 3. Focus on self-growth, not persuasion. Master your skills. Deliver results. Elevate influence quietly. Outcome, not argument, changes perception. Distance resolves what discussion never can. Now, consider social dynamics. People often try to drag you into conflict because it benefits them. They seek validation. They provoke reactions. They want you on their battlefield. Outgrowing the argument removes you from the battlefield. It forces others to operate without your energy as a lever. It signals maturity and authority. You have a choice. Play the game or create your own field. That's the key. Another truth. Growth always outpaces argument. Learning, discipline, and results surpass debate. Those who argue often stagnate. Those who focus on mastery advance. Distance resolves what discussion never can. Practical habit. Next time someone provokes debate, resist. Step back. Observe.
Redirect energy to self-improvement or execution. Do not justify, do not defend, do not explain. Let action speak. Let growth demonstrate superiority. You don't need their permission. Here's the critical mindset. It's not about being better than someone verbally. It's about being better in impact, results, and influence. It's not about winning discussions. It's about winning in life. It's not about appearing right. It's about being effective. Distance resolves what discussion never can. Now, internalize this. Arguments consume attention. Arguments consume focus. Arguments consume energy. Outgrowing arguments preserves attention. Outgrowing arguments preserves focus. Outgrowing arguments preserves energy. You have a choice. Fight endlessly or outgrow quietly and dominate effectively. That's the key. Combine this with the quiet advantage principles you've mastered. You speak with precision. You move strategically. You manufacture respect. You anchor the emotional climate. You operate silently and decisively. You create demand through absence. You wield calm as a weapon. Now, elevate further. Outgrow arguments. Distance resolves what discussion never can. Energy compounds. Influence amplifies. Authority solidifies. You don't need their permission. Finally, reflect on impact. The loudest voices often echo empty air. The reactive fight to be heard. The insecure over-explain. You rise above. You choose calm over chaos. You choose action over argument. You choose growth over debate. Distance resolves what discussion never can. This is the final pillar of disciplined influence. Outgrow, elevate, execute silently, and let results rewrite the narrative. You have a choice. Argue endlessly or outgrow and win permanently.
Most people think reputation is earned by action alone. They rush, they overcommit, they react impulsively. And in doing so, they erode credibility. They appear unreliable. They signal volatility. Here's the truth. Impulsivity damages credibility. Long-term respect is built through controlled responses. What you don't do defines you. That's the key. You have a choice. You can react immediately, or you can exercise restraint. One invites mistakes. The other commands respect. You don't need their permission. Think about behavior. Every hasty comment, every unplanned reaction, every unchecked emotion leaves a trace. Reputation is cumulative. Each impulsive action chips away at authority. Each deliberate pause strengthens it. What you don't do defines you. Repeat it. What you don't do defines you. Now, let's examine the leverage of restraint. Discipline 1. Pause before responding. Even a few seconds of silence interrupts impulse. Even a moment to think transforms reaction into strategy. Discipline 2. Assess the long-term impact. Ask yourself, will this statement or action build authority or undermine it? Will it escalate conflict or maintain control? Discipline 3. Respond selectively. Not every trigger deserves energy. Not every criticism deserves attention. Not every situation warrants explanation. What you don't do defines you. Consider social dynamics. People notice restraint. They admire it. They respect it. Those who act impulsively lose control over perception. Those who exercise restraint control the narrative. Those who wait influence without speaking. You have a choice. React instantly or let restraint define your presence. That's the key. Practical application. Keep a daily log for 1 week. Note situations where you felt the urge to react impulsively. Pause. Breathe. Respond intentionally or choose silence. Observe the effect on respect and perception. You don't need their permission. Here's the mindset shift.
Impulsivity is visible. Restraint is subtle. Impulsivity invites chaos. Restraint commands order. Impulsivity drains influence. Restraint multiplies it. You have a choice. Expend energy or preserve it to reinforce authority. That's the key. Combine this with your quiet advantage disciplines. You speak with precision. You observe before action. You manufacture respect. You operate silently and strategically. You create demand through absence. You wield calm as a weapon. You outgrow arguments. Now add restraint as the final pillar. It solidifies reputation. It multiplies influence. It ensures credibility endures. What you don't do defines you. Here's a critical insight. People respect what they cannot provoke. They value what is not freely given. They notice measured responses over reactive ones. Restraint communicates authority faster than words ever could. It signals maturity. It signals discipline. It signals mastery. You have a choice. Indulge impulse or build enduring influence through restraint. That's the key. Practical habit. Before every response today, pause. Ask, does this action or statement enhance my reputation? Will it serve long-term authority or short-term gratification? If the answer is no, don't act. Watch influence grow. Watch respect deepen. Watch perception shift in your favor. What you don't do defines you. Finally, link restraint back to the overall theme. The quiet advantage is not noise. It is deliberate. It is silent. It is disciplined. You've learned. Stop explaining yourself. Silence as positioning. Observation before action. Speaking less, meaning more. Emotional control as dominance. Manufacturing respect. Strategic absence. Moving quietly with precision. Outgrowing arguments. Calm as a weapon. Now add restraint as the final pillar. It solidifies reputation. It multiplies influence. It ensures credibility endures. You have a choice. React impulsively or let restraint define your legacy.
Most people think influence comes from speaking first. They fill silence with words. They try to convince, to explain, to impress. And in doing so, they give away leverage. They reveal intentions. They expose weakness. Here's the truth. Power listens more than it talks. Listening gathers intelligence. Talking reveals position prematurely. Information favors the quiet. That's the key. You have a choice. You can speak endlessly, or you can listen strategically. One drains influence, the other amplifies it. You don't need their permission. Think about negotiation. Those who speak first anchor positions. Those who remain silent uncover motives. Those who ask questions control direction. Information favors the quiet. Say it again. Information favors the quiet. Now, let's break down the mechanics of listening as power. Discipline 1. Observe beyond words. Notice tone, cadence, and hesitation. Notice what is omitted. Notice repetition. The quiet mind sees patterns the loud cannot. Discipline 2. Pause before responding. Even brief silence magnifies authority. Even minimal responses compel elaboration from others. Every word spoken by you must have intent. Discipline 3. Ask questions strategically. Guide conversations without revealing agenda. Lead others to reveal their priorities. Shape outcomes by curating information. Information favors the quiet. Now consider human psychology. People talk to fill discomfort. People explain to be validated. People overshare when they sense no judgment. You gain the advantage when you resist the urge to compete verbally. You gain the advantage when you create space for observation. You gain the advantage when you let others expose themselves. You have a choice. Compete for attention or control the conversation silently. That's the key. Practical application. In meetings, speak last. Let others define the issues first. Listen carefully. Take mental notes. Respond with precision only when necessary. In negotiations, resist immediate concessions. Observe hesitation, phrasing, and emphasis. Use questions to reveal value. Reserve your position for maximum leverage. In social settings, silence signals confidence. It signals presence without desperation. It forces engagement on your terms. You don't need their permission. Here's a critical mindset shift. Listening is not passive. It is intentional. It is strategic. It is dominant. It's not about being quiet to avoid conflict. It's about gathering advantage. It's not about hiding knowledge. It's about using information wisely. It's not about being submissive. It's about being in control. Information favors the quiet. Now internalize this principle. Those who speak impulsively reveal position. Those who speak incessantly expend influence. Those who dominate conversation risk being manipulated. Those who listen strategically gain insight. Those who listen strategically build leverage. Those who listen strategically control outcomes. You have a choice. Talk constantly or command power through listening strategically. That's the key. Combine this with your quiet advantage disciplines. You've stopped explaining yourself. You've mastered silence as positioning. You've observed before action. You've spoken less, meaning more. You've anchored emotional climate. You've manufactured respect. You've created demand through absence. You've moved silently with precision. You've outgrown arguments. You've wielded calm as a weapon. You've exercised restraint. Now, listening becomes your final amplifier. It turns observation into influence. It turns silence into leverage. It turns awareness into power. Information favors the quiet. Practical habit. Today, identify a situation where you would normally dominate conversation. Listen instead. Ask minimal, precise questions. Observe reactions. Record patterns. Respond only when the impact is greatest. Notice the shift in perception. Notice how influence grows without speaking more. You don't need their permission. Finally, link listening to the overall theme. The quiet advantage is not about noise. It is deliberate. It is silent. It is disciplined. It is observant. When combined with all previous disciplines, listening ensures you control perception. You guide outcomes. You preserve energy. You multiply influence. You command authority. You have a choice. Talk constantly or command power through listening strategically.
Most people feel the need to impress. They announce accomplishments. They exaggerate capability. They display confidence loudly. And in doing so, they create resistance. They attract scrutiny. They provoke competition prematurely. Here's the truth. Letting others underestimate you is strategic. Underestimation reduces resistance. It lowers expectations. It creates space for explosive, unanticipated growth. Invisible growth is unstoppable. That's the key. You have a choice. You can perform to be seen, or you can perform quietly to be unstoppable. One invites comparison. The other guarantees leverage. You don't need their permission. Think about high performers. The quiet achievers are often underestimated. The ambitious whisper then strike decisively. The patient observer surprises the world with results. Invisible growth is unstoppable. Say it again. Invisible growth is unstoppable. Now let's analyze the psychology. When people underestimate you, they reveal their assumptions. They overcommit in attempts to dominate you. They underestimate your preparation, patience, and precision. Every misjudgment creates opportunity. Discipline 1. Underplay capability. Do not flaunt wins. Do not broadcast effort. Do not seek validation. Discipline 2. Prepare silently. Develop skills, accumulate resources, and plan execution quietly. Let knowledge and ability accumulate away from the spotlight. Discipline 3. Reveal selectively. Deliver results at the precise moment. Timing magnifies impact. Execution trumps proclamation. Invisible growth is unstoppable. Now consider human nature. People overestimate those who loudly signal competence. People underestimate those who operate silently. They misjudge capacity. They misjudge potential. This is leverage. Their underestimation is your advantage. Your actions become unpredictable. Your performance carries weight without explanation. You have a choice. Show off prematurely or let silent preparation secure unchallenged dominance. That's the key. Practical application. In work or life, resist the urge to announce achievements. Avoid bragging or constant visibility. Let actions accumulate quietly. Wait for the moment results speak for themselves. In negotiations, underestimate expectations. Appear less prepared than you are. Then deliver precision and impact. The shock of competence creates authority. Invisible growth is unstoppable. Here's the mindset shift. Humility is a strategic tool. Silence is not weakness. Underestimation is not failure. It is positioning. It's not about hiding potential. It's about directing perception. It's not about avoiding success. It's about controlling timing. It's not about being invisible. It's about being unstoppable. You don't need their permission. Internalize this principle. Those who seek validation expose themselves. Those who overperform publicly invite resistance. Those who demand recognition control neither perception nor timing. Those who operate quietly harness leverage. Those who underplay accomplishments control narratives. Those who let growth accumulate surprise with authority. You have a choice. Display loudly or let silent preparation yield unstoppable results. That's the key. Combine this with the quiet advantage. Stop explaining yourself. Silence as positioning. Observation before action. Precision in communication. Emotional control. Respect manufacturing. Strategic absence. Silent, precise movement. Outgrowing arguments. Calm as a weapon. Restraint. Listening strategically. Now add underestimation. It multiplies power. It maximizes surprise. It ensures your impact is irreversible. Invisible growth is unstoppable. Practical habit. Identify one area where others overestimate themselves against you. Pull back from the spotlight. Invest quietly in preparation, skill, and knowledge. Let results create shock and authority. Observe reactions. Notice how underestimation becomes leverage. Notice influence expand. You don't need their permission. Finally, link this chapter to the overall theme. The quiet advantage is about subtle mastery. It is not about noise. It is not about proving. It is about accumulating power silently. Let others underestimate you. Leverage patience. Execute precisely. Amplify impact without announcement. You have a choice. Be overestimated or become unstoppable through invisible growth. Most people confuse confidence with loudness. They seek attention to validate themselves. They display energy to prove worth. And in doing so, they become dependent on approval. They react to criticism. They are shaken by skepticism. Here's the truth. Quiet confidence is unshakable. Confidence does not demand recognition. It does not rely on applause. It does not beg for validation. Inner certainty replaces external noise. I know. That is enough. That's the key. You have a choice. You can broadcast bravado, or you can cultivate certainty internally. One seeks validation, the other commands presence effortlessly. You don't need their permission. Think about the most influential leaders. Their power is silent. Their authority is unchallenged. They act without needing approval. I know that is enough. Repeat it. I know that is enough. Now, let's explore the mechanisms of quiet confidence. Discipline 1. Trust your preparation. Skills mastered in silence become unshakable. Knowledge accumulated privately becomes armor. Competence, when not flaunted, amplifies presence. Discipline 2. Avoid constant justification. Do not explain decisions unnecessarily. Do not defend accomplishments endlessly. The quiet do not prove, they demonstrate. Discipline 3. Anchor in internal validation. Your worth is self-determined. Your trajectory is self-directed. External approval is optional, not required. I know that is enough. Now consider human behavior. People are distracted by noise. They overestimate volume as authority. They underestimate subtlety as mastery. You gain the advantage when you anchor confidence inward. You gain influence when external recognition is irrelevant. You gain freedom when approval is optional. You have a choice. Seek validation or cultivate certainty that no one can shake. That's the key. Practical application. In conversation, speak with certainty. Avoid qualifying statements unnecessarily. State your position calmly and clearly. Observe how influence grows when you do not justify. In work, trust your strategy. Execute without announcing every step. Let outcomes communicate value. Resist the urge to seek constant feedback or approval. I know that is enough. Here's the mindset shift. Quiet confidence is not arrogance. It is discipline. It is preparation. It is mastery. It's not about impressing others. It's about knowing yourself. It's not about avoiding mistakes. It's about acting from competence. It's not about isolation. It's about standing firm in certainty. You don't need their permission. Internalize this principle. Those who broadcast confidence depend on recognition. Those who need applause are fragile. Those who react to criticism are unanchored. Those who cultivate inner certainty command presence. Those who act from mastery influence effortlessly. Those who are unshaken are unbreakable. You have a choice. Broadcast noise or anchor certainty internally and move unshakably. That's the key. Combine this with the quiet advantage disciplines. Stop explaining yourself. Silence as positioning. Observation before action. Speak less, mean more. Emotional control. Manufactured respect. Strategic absence. Move silently and precisely. Outgrow arguments. Calm as a weapon. Restraint. Strategic listening. Let others underestimate you. Control the pace. Now, inner confidence becomes the ultimate amplifier. It turns restraint into authority. It turns silence into presence. It turns strategy into unshakable influence. I know that is enough. Practical habit. Today, identify an area where you seek approval. Pause. Trust your skills and preparation. Act without seeking validation. Observe the subtle shift in perception. Notice how unshakable presence alters interactions. You don't need their permission. Finally, link this chapter to the overarching theme. The quiet advantage is mastery without noise. It is influence without demand. It is action without external validation. It is confidence anchored inward. Quiet confidence is unshakable. It cannot be bought. It cannot be manipulated. It cannot be diluted by opinion. You have a choice. Broadcast bravado or anchor certainty internally and move unshakably.
Most people wear their emotions on their sleeves. They signal intent through reactions.
They give away leverage with every expression. And in doing so, they become predictable. They become manipulable. They hand control to others on a silver platter. Here's the truth. The unreadable are unmovable. Predictability invites manipulation. Emotional neutrality blocks control attempts. They can't control what they can't read. That's the key. You have a choice. You can reveal your hand, or you can master the art of unreadability. One reacts, the other dictates. You don't need their permission. Think about leaders in high-stakes environments. They do not show panic. They do not telegraph decisions. They maintain composure even under attack. They are unreadable. They are unmovable. They are in control. They can't control what they can't read. Repeat it. They can't control what they can't read. Now let's dissect the strategies to become unreadable. Discipline 1. Control expression. Maintain calm in all situations. Neutralize reactions that invite interpretation. Let others wonder what is next. Discipline 2. Guard information. Speak less than you know. Share only what is necessary. Silence creates strategic ambiguity. Discipline 3. Neutralize emotional triggers. Do not react to provocation. Do not escalate tension unnecessarily. Your emotional climate is under your command. They can't control what they can't read. Consider human behavior. People instinctively test boundaries. They probe for weaknesses. They manipulate responses to gain advantage. When you are unreadable, influence shifts. When you are neutral, pressure dissolves. When you are unmovable, others adapt to you. You have a choice. Show your hand or cultivate unreadability and unshakable authority. That's the key. Practical application. In conversations, pause before responding. Keep facial expressions controlled. Respond with measured language. Observe reactions without engagement. Allow silence to become your strategic tool. In high-pressure situations, neutralize impulses. Do not respond to every stimulus. Anchor yourself in discipline. Move when advantageous. Act when optimal. They can't control what they can't read. Here's the mindset shift. Being unreadable is not detachment. It is discipline. It is strategy. It is mastery of self. It's not about being cold. It's about being deliberate. It's not about hiding knowledge. It's about maintaining leverage. It's not about evading reality. It's about controlling your influence. You don't need their permission. Internalize this principle. Those who reveal everything invite exploitation. Those who react emotionally are predictable. Those who overshare lose authority. Those who are unreadable retain control. Those who are neutral cannot be manipulated. Those who are unmovable dictate outcomes. You have a choice. React predictably or become unreadable and unmovable. That's the key. Combine this with the quiet advantage disciplines. Stop explaining yourself. Silence as positioning. Observation before action. Speak less but mean more. Emotional control. Manufactured respect. Strategic absence. Move silently and precisely. Outgrow arguments. Calm as a weapon. Restraint. Strategic listening. Let others underestimate you. Control the pace. Quiet confidence. Now unreadability becomes the final frontier. It turns restraint into impenetrability. It turns observation into control. It turns silence into armor.
They can't control what they can't read. Practical habit. Today, identify one area where you typically reveal too much. Pause. Neutralize reaction. Maintain composure. Observe how influence shifts when others cannot predict your moves. You don't need their permission. Finally, link this chapter to the overarching theme. The quiet advantage is mastery without exposure. It is influence without signal. It is action without invitation. It is unshakable presence anchored in unreadability. Become unreadable. Become unmovable. Anchor yourself in discipline. Control the narrative silently. You have a choice. Show all, react fast, or master unreadability and dominate without declaration.
Most people confuse speed with efficiency. They rush, they overcommit, they react impulsively, and in doing so, they give control to others. They let circumstances dictate outcomes. They surrender authority over timing. Here's the truth. Controlling the pace controls the game. Rushing benefits the unprepared. Slow, deliberate action dictates terms. Speed is pressure. Control is timing. That's the key. You have a choice. You can follow the frenzy, or you can set the rhythm. One reacts, the other dictates. You don't need their permission. Think about negotiation. Those who hurry reveal urgency. Those who rush make mistakes. Those who pace strategically force the other party to accommodate their timing. Speed is pressure. Control is timing. Repeat it. Speed is pressure. Control is timing. Now, let's explore the mechanics. Discipline 1. Evaluate before acting. Every decision requires clarity. Assess variables, predict consequences, then act deliberately. Discipline 2. Use timing as leverage. Delay responses to create anticipation. Move when conditions are favorable. Let others react to your rhythm. Discipline 3. Resist external pressure. The loudest voices are not always right. The fastest decisions are not always effective. You set the pace, not them. Speed is pressure. Control is timing. Now, consider human behavior. People feel compelled to act immediately. They respond to urgency, not strategy. They misstep under pressure. You gain leverage when you control tempo. You gain authority when you dictate rhythm. You gain outcomes when you move deliberately. You have a choice. Follow the herd or lead by controlling the pace. That's the key. Practical application. In meetings, speak at deliberate intervals. Pause before answering questions. Let silence guide others to fill gaps. Observe reactions. Respond with precision. In business execution, avoid rushing projects. Align effort with strategy, not pressure. Deliver quality consistently. Set expectations, then exceed them on your terms. Speed is pressure. Control is timing. Here's the mindset shift. Moving deliberately is not procrastination. It is discipline. It is preparation. It is authority. It's not about being slow for the sake of appearance. It's about maximizing impact. It's not about avoiding action. It's about timing action to create leverage. It's not about yielding to others. It's about controlling the game. You don't need their permission. Internalize this principle. Those who hurry give up advantage. Those who rush invite mistakes. Those who react are controlled by circumstance. Those who pace themselves shape outcomes. Those who delay strategically increase influence. Those who control tempo command results. You have a choice. React quickly or dictate timing for maximum leverage. That's the key. Combine this with the quiet advantage disciplines. Stop explaining yourself. Silence as positioning. Observation before action. Speak less, mean more. Emotional control. Manufactured respect. Strategic absence. Move silently and precisely. Outgrow arguments. Calm as weapon. Restraint. Strategic listening. Let others underestimate you. Now, pace becomes the final multiplier.
It magnifies power. It amplifies impact. It ensures decisions are yours, not theirs. Speed is pressure. Control is timing. Practical habit. Today, identify one area where you normally rush. Pause. Assess the situation. Determine optimal timing. Act deliberately. Observe influence increase. Notice the difference between reaction and control. Notice how authority grows without additional effort. You don't need their permission. Finally, link pacing back to the overarching theme. The quiet advantage is not speed. It is deliberate. It is strategic. It is timing over urgency. It is power executed with intention. Control the pace. Control the game. Lead without noise. Win without chaos. You have a choice. Follow the frenzy or dictate rhythm and dominate the game.
Here is the truth. The world is loud because most people are insecure. They rush to speak, react, explain, and prove. You will not be one of them. You will pause where others panic. You will listen where others expose themselves. You will move when the moment is right, not when pressure demands it. Silence will become your discipline. Restraint will become your leverage. And calm will become your authority. Starting today, speak less, react slower, observe longer. Let your results replace your explanations. Let your composure replace your arguments. And let your silence do the work your words never could. If this message sharpened you, don't just listen again, apply it. Because the quiet don't chase power.